I can still remember what it was like the first time I stepped into a race car. The sound of the engine, the anticipation, but I never could have imagined where this journey would take me. My father once told me that racing is just like life. You have to stay on your toes, because you never know what's around the next corner. Bill Watson, and this is my story.
Wednesday nights on GSRC this past season have been a celebration of oval racing. But most notably, we've watched two spectacular series take the NASCAR trucks around the U.S. and pit them against some of the most iconic circuits this style of racing has to offer. Naturally, ideas started brewing, talks started happening, and eventually, everyone got curious enough to see just how good are these folks across the way. Today, we'll settle that debate as we get ready to watch the Duel Invitational between the PRL NASCAR Truck Series and the Sim Racers for Mental Health. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Lindgren. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Adam, of all the tracks to choose for the trucks, they picked Michigan. What are your thoughts on this combination of vehicle and circuit?
It is an interesting combination, to be sure, Joe. Michigan International Speedway is a 2-mile or 3.22-kilometer track with 18 degrees of bank in the groove and 12 degrees of bank on the front stretch, making the front stretch feel like one big, long, sweeping corner that you can tackle flat out. This track is known for its high speeds in the Monster Energy Cup cars, but with the trucks with smaller engines, blockier frames, and fixed setups, it will feel more like a traditional pack race, especially on the flat, long backstretch. The only thing these truckers may struggle with is tight off of 2 and loose off of 4. With temps high and speeds higher, the tire fall-off will come into play today, especially if we go green for a while. Alright, short and sweet, let's get to it and take a lap around Michigan International Speedway in a NASCAR Gander Series truck in our GSRC lap guide.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Global SimRacing Channel. I'm Brian Yazek, taking you for a spin around the Michigan International Speedway in the GSRC Chevrolet Silverado, my home track. So for your laps here, it's going to be a big sprawling speedway, a lot of room to run, but getting it wound up, you're going to run all the way up here, kind of right next to the fence. And then down into turn 1, you're going to let it float out of the throttle just a little bit, probably down to about half throttle. Let it find the seam down here on the bottom lane. Don't go below that seam. It will de-wedge the vehicle and you'll spin out in about a heartbeat. Aiming for that crossover gate out of turn 2. Don't hit it. Turn 3 is actually really easy to overdrive here at MIS. As you can see right here, you go into the corner just too hot and it doesn't want to turn down to the bottom where the grip is. But you can still make time up here because coming out of the corner, you're going to be sailing it really high out of the corner, getting a big arc. And then you're going to see guys run right down here a lot too as the run progresses, especially for your qualifying lap, but as the race runs, because it allows for a little bit of a draft block. Back down into turn 1. Out of the gas a little bit, into it, back out to full throttle, right at about the apex of 2. Aim for that crossover gate, and back down the back stretch. A lot of room to run here. You can see guys going 2, 3 wide, maybe even 4 if they're brave enough. Turn 3, let it lift out right about where the caution light is up there on the wall. Back into the gas hard. Let it eat on the bottom, drift it out towards the fence. Out of turn 4, down the front stretch for the final time today. Down all the way here to the apron, don't clip the grass, but across the line, and that is going to complete our track guide around the Michigan International Speedway in the GSRC Chevrolet Silverado. I'm Brian Yazek. Enjoy the show.
There you see laps around Michigan International Speedway, which is a nice place to visit, as you can tell by the scenic surroundings, but there's plenty of scenic places to visit, especially down in the Caribbean. And well, while we're on that topic, attention all iRacers, we found a way to get you all on the same boat. Take a cruise with us to celebrate the new year. That's right, sail out of Miami with us on January 5th, 2020 for a 7-night Eastern Caribbean cruise on the Royal Caribbean Oasis of the Seas. Special group pricing has been put in place for iRacing members and their friends. Sail away and get together with members of the iRacing community and get ready to see Phillipsburg, St. Martin, San Juan, Puerto Rico, and Labadee, Haiti. For as little as $125 a day, you can cruise the high seas for 7 days. And for a small deposit, you can secure your spot today. Payment plans available for everyone. Contact Brenna today at the cruise shop to get on this special offer. Email or call, but do it now. Spots are filling quickly. You can find it at Brenna at thecruiseshopfw.com going over to their Facebook events page with all the details about this amazing offer. Facebook/Cruise Shop FW. We'll see you on the ship. As we get ready for qualifying to get started, though, we, of course, have race details for this special event. It is mostly following the PRL format, but just in case we have viewers coming over from the Sim Racers for Mental Health, Adam, why don't you tell us a little bit about what's involved?
No problem, Joe. We have two trucks here today, the Silverado and the Tundra, going around Michigan International. Our setups are fixed. We're following the PRL format for fixed setups here. And we've got restricted fuel. It's going to be about 85% for this long track for this race today. Race distance is going to be 55 laps, so a fairly long one today at Michigan with the 2-mile track. And for this special event, we got an incident cap of 17. So enough to play with, but a little bit of a deterrent from going all out crazy on these guys today.
Certainly. Don't want to be sliding through the grass too much, that's for sure. Now, you mentioned the fuel limitations around here. What about tires? Is Michigan, especially since this is the new Michigan, is it abrasive with it being such high speeds around here? Will it be tire limited at all?
I believe the tires are going to be of a premium in this race, especially with it being mostly pack racing. The setup that they're running today, it looks like a lot of guys are struggling with being tight through the corners. So those front right tires are going to really pick up a lot of heat. And so that's going to require the drivers to most likely take tires at just about every caution that we have.
We'll have to watch out for that and see how the cautions, of course, play out in this event, since they are a part of it. And the other thing too is, since we don't have any sort of championship involved, this is just for bragging rights. I have to imagine, Adam, that the pressure is on. I mean, if you were a driver in this, wouldn't you simply be going for the win above all else?
Absolutely. There's nothing to lose. The only thing you're going to damage here is somebody's feelings, and that might be a bad thing going into next season. But it's not like no one's going to be taking this all too seriously. This is kind of just, from what I understand, just a time to feel out whether or not these two groups of drivers can really get along and who's the best. So you're going to be looking at a lot of the best drivers really going at it and trying to win regardless of how they get there.
All right, we'll see how they get there from the start of the race, because qualifying has already gotten going. Everybody just getting the cars warmed up on the out lap, and they'll each get 2 laps to try and set a time. Of course, this race is also going to be itself timed, so even though it is a 55-lap race, they can run out, which we have seen before in the Precision Racing League, which is where that rule comes from. I can see a bunch of cars crossing the line for the first time. Is there anything special that you try to do for qualifying in these trucks? Excuse me, I think I've called them cars multiple times already. Is there anything special that these trucks need? Like, is it sort of Talladega-esque, where the first lap is just kind of getting it warmed up, and the second is the banger, or is it the other way around?
Well, it really depends on setup, and with these trucks being tight, I mean, you are definitely going to pick up speed on that first lap, so you want to try and save as much tires as you can on the first lap, so that your second lap you can really go all out and get down to that yellow line and take the shortest way around the track for sure. As you can see right now, Robert Vassau Jr. going through the corner here. He's up in that second groove. That's because the lower groove is actually a little bit more banked, a little bit less banked actually. And he's taking the midway through the front stretch now and then dipping down to the center. So it's going to be interesting to see how these guys qualify as we take a look right now.
So far, Sink has the fastest time, but we're still seeing the first laps start to come in. Apologies for losing picture just a moment, and then we're already back. So Rob Haynes just ahead of Sink now by about 4/100ths of a second, and they're only separated by roughly half a second from all the cars that have gotten times in so far.
Yeah, these guys are doing really well right now, as Bradley Hawley just finishes his second lap as well. He's not able to improve on his time, so it looks like most of these guys are getting their fast times from that first lap. So most of the drivers taking their laps early in this qualifying session, as we still have half the time to go.
And worth noting as well that it is currently about 4:30 in the afternoon virtual standard time, so the sun will continue to go down as the race goes by. Should hopefully cool down the track somewhat. Still waiting on about a dozen cars to get at least a lap time in. We'll see if anybody elects to just come from the back and maybe try to stay out of trouble.
And impressively, Rob Haynes currently on top by 3/1000ths of a second. He just pulls out the potential pole right ahead of Thomas Sink by just that tiny little margin. So an impressive run from him for sure.
Looking out, though, there is still time to get out there for your lap times. I see Brandon Miranda has not set a time, and he's sitting at the end of pit lane. Looks like Joseph Millet is going to be out there. Richter as well, getting ready to start a lap. I think Jake Van Wazer sets his first one, and that's going to be good enough for pole, actually. The number 15 up to the top.
Yeah, he's still on his second lap right now, but that was an impressive lap for sure. He has the potential to get better lap time, but it looks like he might just pull it over here on the backstretch.
So he seems pretty content with that one. Seeing the number 1 pop up on his screen. Millet, Crichton, Roberts, and Miranda, the last the ones able to get laps in, because now we're under 1 minute. So time is out to try and get it out there and get a time in.
Danny Banfield's still out on the track right now. Danny Banfield, rather. And he's just pulling around turns 1 and 2. He put in a lap of a 40.353. So that's going to be quite a bit off of the leaders down right now, putting him in 17th. We'll see whether his second lap's any better.
And Millet takes the pole. The track is getting cooler with a little cloud cover, ducking it down to 96 degrees, and they are taking advantage of it. So Wazer first snagged it, now Millet.
We're on board with Connor Crichton, and he's going to run out of time here in this qualifying session. Didn't get out early enough to make 2 laps, but waiting till later definitely paid off for him, as we see that the laps that happened during that cloud cover paid off, and we have a new man on pole.
Absolutely. And in fact, it's time to head to that grid now that the times have been set. Joseph Millet is going to be starting it up top with Jake Van Wazer just beside him. Rob Haynes will be starting P3 with Thomas Sink in 4th. Row 3, Brendan Chatley starts in 5th position. Bradley Hawley to his outside. William Hartman, surprisingly, down in 7th. Tends to be a very, very fast driver. Connor Crichton will be 8th, and then Jake Hounshell will be 9th. Mike Richter rounds out your top 10.
In 11th place, we have Colton Lane starting in that 6th row, alongside Jason Hounshell in 12th position. Brandon Miranda is going to start in 13th position, alongside Robert Malicki in 14th. The 44 of Robert Passat Jr. starting in 15th on row 8, alongside Tyler Fody. And we have Adam Zemke, Jody Banfield, Danny Banfield, and Nicholas Hunter rounding out those top 20 there.
Anthony Jobe will be 21st with TJ McGuire starting in 22nd. Austin Hunter, 23rd. Daniel Zegers will be in the 24th position, followed by J.R. Smith, first driver who did not get a time in. Then you've got Eric Roberts in 26th and Charles Sumner in 27th of this. Not terribly small field, but also not too large either. Just about the perfect size to keep it from being too much chaos. And also giving us a lot of interest. You can see they've lined them up the new way that iRacing does the lineup here on the oval side. All slanted out and ready to go. And then now they take off behind the pace car.
Yeah, and that lineup just reflecting what they do and how they line up on the grid in the real life races now. And so it's awesome to see iRacing implementing those things that really continue to make the simulator feel as comparable to real life as possible.
Absolutely. It certainly makes things just immerse you all the more. Only 1 pace lap with this being a 2-mile track. Joseph will be able to lead them around in that number 93 truck. Sounds like poor Danny Banfield missed the start, so he is going to have to start from pit lane. He's going to have to hope for an early caution to keep from going a lap down the long backstretch and into turn 3 with a fresh pavement here in Michigan. ready to take on two different series of truck drivers to compete and find out who of them is the best. Mustang pace car now coming up through turn 4, should peel into pit lane. Who's going to get a decent jump? Makes his intentions known. Pace car is in. Green flag is out. Joseph gets a decent start, but it's not that great of a start for Wazer. He even gets a little bit of a bump from Sink from behind. Getting their speed slowly creeping up faster and faster as they work their way around turns 1 and 2. So far, this has been a relatively calm start, though, Adam.
Yeah, they're still building up speed. We'll see how exciting it is going into 1 and exiting 2 the next time around. But these guys really starting to pick up speed. They're being pretty kind to the leader right now, and they're really starting to string it out a little bit in the back, actually.
Seems like everybody just trying to give each other room. 55 laps is a ways to go, so might as well just cruise for a bit. See what develops from there. Right now, your leader is Joseph Millet. Jake Van Wazer holds down second, but he is on the high side of Rob Hayes, who starts to drift back slightly. Not just into third, but down into fourth is up on the high side. Momentum in favor of Thomas Sink, the number 48, now in the top 3.
As we're watching these drivers go around the track, they're learning about the setup just as we are. Looks like for turns 1 and 2, that outside line, while these tires are still fresh, is going to be the fast way around. Everyone's staying high above pretty much the second lane. But one thing I didn't talk about in the track map was just what these drivers are doing in the front. There's a lot of room to maneuver on this track, a lot of chances, a lot of opportunities, a lot of room to bump and pass.
So far, the first side-by-side down through the field is Haynes and Holly, but even Haynes is discovering that that low line just won't work no matter how many times he tries it. Continues to slip backwards, was looking at second place and finally settles into line all the way back in 6th.
Looks like Joseph Millet has been watching footage of Bourdais' defense down the back straight at Indy and trying to do the same thing here as he tries to take that lead. Thomas Sink down to the bottom of the track now. Everyone trying to find different lines, see what works, and look at them spread out on that front stretch.
That's one of the advantages of Michigan, a very wide track to work with on that front and back stretch. Still a battle for third place between Holly on the low side, Sink on the high side. Sink moves up to third as Holly slots back in.
On board with Van Wazer is Thomas Sink sneaking underneath. He's going to force Van Wazer out of the line right now. That's going to deprive him of precious draft that he needs. We'll see whether or not Sink dives low, and he does. He's going to stay in line with Millet and pick up that draft, forcing Van Wazer to try and get in line behind him.
First, I thought Sink's car was vaguely threatening, and I thought it said Watchaback Racing, but no, Watchaback Racing number 48 climbs his way all the way up to the second spot, but there's a gap up to Millet. Is there a danger at Michigan for the leader to just pull away and get out of the draft of everyone?
Especially, yes, definitely, especially as the tires start to go away, as these guys start to have trouble lining up, and as they start to have trouble running single file like this, they're going to start to realize that it's going to be difficult for Millet to really be able to stay with Millet. So it'll be good to see whether or not they can make their way up there.
Mostly single file now. You can see everybody just generally getting into the line. First battle is between Colton Lane, who's in the blue number 60 car, with Mike Richter in the red and yellow number 12. Looks like Richter will come out on top, and in fact, Lane continues to fall backwards down the backstretch.
Jake Houndshell's also up top of Tyler Foti as well, as we have those two cars going side by side. Houndshell on the outside there. He's a little stuck on top of Colton Lane. Colton Lane going backwards, but still, that's allowing Jason Houndshell to pull ahead. This is the first time we've seen those two really battle side by side, Jake and Jason Houndshell on track.
Well, looks like Jake's going to get bragging rights at the dinner table for now. And once again, Colton Lane, even though he was able to drift up high coming off the corner, finds that Tyler Fody had more momentum. The number 7 manages to move himself up to 12th. I think you hit the nail on the head earlier on, Adam. It seems like that high line is working so much better in these early laps.
But at the same time, Bradley Hawley snuck underneath Jake Van Wezer, and while that low line is a little bit slower, looks like William Hartman's gonna line up with Bradley Hawley, two unlikely people to be working together. But wow, take a look at Bradley Hawley really putting a slide job there on Jake Van Wezer. Van Wezer's gonna go underneath, but Hartman staying up high with his PRL competitor and seeing whether or not he can push Hawley by.
Hartman up on the high side, has to back out of it slightly. Now he squares him up, and look at him scream forward. Already up to the side of Van Wezer, and now fully past. Beautiful move on the high side from Hartman in the 67.
I'll be honest, I don't think anything's wrong with Jake Van Wezer's car at all. It's just these PRL guys know each other. They know how each other races, and this is kind of a team-on-team battle. So all 4 of these drivers, with Rob Haynes and Brendan Chatley as well, going straight by Van Wezer, putting him down a little bit.
Meanwhile, all this action back there for third place has meant that Sink and Melee are starting to pull away. It is 3/4 of a second for a gap back to that main pack. You can see those two up at the front, the 93 and the 48, just kind of running their own thing.
Yeah, but I mean, we were wondering whether Melee was going to be able to pull ahead, but Thomas Sink, look at him dive down low. He's going to see whether he can take that spot from Melee as they exit too.
Clearly wants to try and run in some clean air, but it's just not enough speed to try and take the top spot away. Ooh, dives it in deep though, down into turn 3, drifts up a little bit, almost gets into the side of Melee. He eventually backs out of it, the 93, hands it over for the first time this race.
That was the kind of risky racing we were talking about, that really there's no penalty for doing this race. I mean, aside from wrecking yourself out and your competitor, like, there's no points championship to worry about. You don't need to make good position. The only thing that matters right now is finishing ahead of your competitor and finishing ahead of your other league.
So we've had no caution yet because of the pretty clean racing that we've seen, and that's really bad news for Danny Banfield. He's the last car out on track, and he's a whole 23 seconds behind our leader. And a few more laps, if this continues, it seems likely he could be caught. Although ground has been lost by our top 2 with that side-by-side action. Bradley Hawley in third is now back to the rear spoiler of Melee's truck.
Just a reminder about Banfield, he missed the grid because of technical issues, so he didn't break off the back due to any sort of racing incident. But as we're on board with Bradley Hawley, he's definitely catching up to the front too. And it looks like these PRL truckers really understanding these fixed setups a little bit better, having to deal with that adversity on a weekly basis.
Back out of it slightly does the number 184 as we continue to ride on board, looking low, getting that clean air, and it's working because he's starting to gain ground. Gets a wheel to the inside, but unfortunately the door is now shut as Melee gets the clear from his spotter and has no intentions of handing this over quite yet.
That man trusts his spotter a little bit more than I would in that situation, pulling down right in front of Bradley Hawley. It was a commanding move, though, and it's made him maintain that second position. He's going to defend low down the backstretch. Not necessarily sure whether that's absolutely necessary right now. I think he could have stayed in line, but it did break the draft for Bradley Hawley a little bit, and now they're all single file again.
Are there any concerns about overheating at a track like this, or is that kind of a non-issue in these trucks?
Well, with the distance that they're running behind one another, it's not really an issue. It'd be an issue if we had, like, multiple restarts where we're all bunched up right next to each other, super speedway style, but there's enough of a gap here that, based upon the way iRacing simulates the engines, there shouldn't be an overheating issue unless the fixed setup was a little bit tight on tape.
A lot of action back here in the midfield. That's Jason Hounshaw in the green and black double aught. Moving up to P10. Fody's going to follow him through to 11th, trying to get by Colton Lane. We've watched him lose multiple positions already. And the 60 car on the bottom side in the blue tries to come back, and it's working so far. Green 4 looking strong, managing to hold.
And the leaders have
Cody.
wrecked. The leaders have gone around. He managed to save it.
Wow.
Thomas Sink down to the bottom of the track. He got spun by Joseph Mealy on an attempted pass. He managed to keep it straight though.
I'm gonna watch the replay. Going back and looking at this, the 48 kind of weaving a bit. Almost looking like he's trying to block him off. And wonder if that's the cause of getting tipped in the back like that. Usually it's a non-issue on a curved arc like that, gentle curved arc for the front stretch.
Yeah, it looks like Thomas Sink got tight exiting 4, so that put him at a speed disadvantage. And considering the fact that he hasn't raced with Mealy in a while, these guys just swamped him. As we look on back behind Thomas Sink, Mealy actually looks like he weaved up and tried to take the outside line. Thomas Sink not expecting it and just got into him. A miracle Sink was managed to save it though.
He's fallen down to 19th in the process. He's got a long ways to work back up to the front, which appears to have changed hands once again. Bradley Hawley and William Hartman are now 1-2. And indeed, our former leader, Joseph Mealy, is fallen back to third and is under threat of being off the podium because down to his inside, that is Rob Haynes, number 29 truck.
Bradley Hawley and William Hartman, championship 1 and 2 from the PRL series. These two guys are fast drivers and also really rich competitors. But Joseph Mealy got a good run off of 2 and looks like he's might make a challenge on Rob Haynes into 3 if he decides.
What do you think? Uneasy truce between the 184 and the 67 until the last 5 laps?
Maybe not the last 5, but definitely for now. These tires are starting to go away. These truck drivers are having a hard time keeping it from getting too tight off of the corners. So right now is not the time to be making enemy.
Back in 9th place, we've got a whole slew of cars led by Tyler Fody in 8th. J.R. Smith ducking low but drifting up with the wind being taken off the front of the car. Behind him, everybody else kind of settles out. Ooh, to the 33 wash up really high though on the exit there.
Yeah, well, J.R. Smith managing to avoid the wall that time, but he's up 16 positions from his starting position. And so he's on a tear right now. And Tyler Fody up 8 positions as well, but looks like J.R. Smith has an understanding of how this truck drives better than just about anybody on the track at the moment.
See them continue to run side by side down the front stretch. Fody and the green and white number 7. Looking to hold on to the momentum. He drops back a little bit with it being a longer lap around the high side, but you can see him start to come back. Slingshotting off of turn 2. The 33 doesn't have the speed initially, but he dives it deep down into turn 3. Looking to take it back, and I think he could have it if he wants it. He does indeed drift up to the high side and solidifies that P8.
These trucks this tight, you're just gritting your teeth every time you go underneath somebody, especially on the exit of 2. That's where the track flattens out very quickly. So it's really a surprise. We're going to go back to the lead right now as looks like William Hartman, Bradley Hawley still single file, and they started to gap Rob Haynes.
Speaking of the push, the 67 had to get out of it coming off of turn 2, and look at how much he's losing on the new leader Hawley. In fact, coming up the inside, looks like Mealy manages to get into 3rd ahead of Haynes.
Joseph Mealy making that move, but he got a little bit tight exiting 4, and that allows Rob Haynes to kind of sidle up next to him. Rob Haynes is going to decide discretion is a better part of valor right now. He's going to back off of that. We're on board with Mealy now, looking up towards Hartman.
Coming into the corner very high, the number 93 looking to diamond it off on the exit. Does this help him get another run? Last time he got 1 position out of it. This time, I'd say a little too far back for the 67. So the 93 will stay put.
And Joe, I know we just talked about it, but J.R. Smith is one to watch today. I've never seen him have this much pace in the truck. He's up to 7th now, and he just got out ahead of the pack that's behind him. He's now closing the gap now between 7th and 6th position, catching up to Jake Van Wazer.
So, Van Wazer clearly going to have some company if JR can do what he needs to do with this clear air back there in 7th place. You can see back there 2 cars side by side, the blue car and the black car. That is Crichton on the high side of the 19, Lane the low side.
Colton Lane once again slipping back. He's really struggling on these tires. He might have taken a little bit too much life out of them early on, especially battling those guys, but he's able to slip in front of Crichton now as they go down the front stretch.
Things were a little bit exciting there for a while, but it seems like they've mostly just leveled out. Everybody kind of getting into a rhythm. We're waiting for that first pit stop to come. Still no cautions in all 23 laps that we have run, despite a near big one with our leaders coming together on the front stretch. For those wondering what happened to Thomas Sink since then, he's only gotten up to 18th. He's currently working on 17th with Mike Richter ahead of him.
Yeah, Thomas Sink not having the best day right now. Mike Richter just passing Daniel Zegers right there.
We have a pitter. It's Brennan Chatley.
And Mike Richter as well. All right, so it looks like, well, we're approaching halfway. Oh, Brandon Miranda spinning out there as he entered the pits. That is a really tough. Oh my gosh, look at that. He was loose as long before he got to the cone. Watch him right now. He just got those wheels spinning. That's one reason why you need to make sure to adjust the brake bias when you come down pit road. Otherwise, you really lock up those rear tires and spin it around.
Pedigree car proving why you can't let the tail wag the dog. He gets to his pit stall anyways. Danny Banfield, who has certainly got one of the worst situations of the field, still waiting to get that caution to get him caught up. Number 25, all by his lonesome. Is he going to stay out this time by? Yes, he is.
So Brendan Chatley, the second driver off of pit road after Danny Banfield, he's in the 23rd position now, and he has gotten lapped by the leaders. We'll see what his tires can do now, see whether they can claw those positions back, but he is really hoping a caution does not come out right now.
The leaders are going to stay out. Wait a little bit longer. We're nearly halfway through this race, we should point out. So, though we do expect at least one pit stop for fuel, the question is, could anybody maybe potentially use some fresh tires to play a little bit of a trick on everyone else? Be a little sneaky with a strategy?
I think for sure that's Brendan Chatley's plan. He just made up 2 positions in one corner with fresh tires. You're going to see him enter the back of this shot real quick as he comes out of 3 and 4 right behind the leaders.
How quickly could he get his lap back? That's the question.
J.R. Smith and Colton Lane have decided to come to the pits along with Robert Passau Jr. as well. We're really starting to see everyone come in. But Bradley Hawley, William Hartman, and Joseph Miele all staying out, hoping for a caution. But it's going to be too late. If Brendan Chatley makes it past them, the caution benefits him, and he will inherit the lead if we get a caution.
He's looking for it, trying to make use of these fresh tires. Doesn't do much down the backstretch, but coming into the corner, look at the 55. Scream by on the high side. There is the difference, ladies and gentlemen. And excuse me, the number 59 makes it obvious to our leaders who now all come in. Oh! Miele spins it.
Joseph Miele with way too hot down into the... Oh my gosh, lots of people spinning out as they go on board. Sink as well.
Watch this view first. Miele nearly took out the 67 as well. That was Hartman. And then Sink, you can see him coming in. Almost the same problem.
Sink almost for sure has a penalty for coming down the pit roads too fast. Miele may as well. These 2 drivers, after starting out the day in front and battling with one another, have some serious work to try and make up for it. Now they're definitely hoping for a caution. And Brendan Chatley Looks like he has passed everybody except for Danny Banfield, who's actually pulled ahead of him.
Boy, this is proving to be a diabolical pit entry. Fody nearly lost it, managed to hold it pointed forward at least, and didn't hit anything. He's now come to his stall. No, he hasn't. He's coming past his stall. He has to back up just to take his pit stop under green flag. That is going to hurt.
So our current leader right now, before his pit stop, since he hasn't taken one, Jake Houndshell in first position. Jason Houndshell's behind him. Jason Houndshell rips by as Jake goes down to the pits. Jason Houndshell's going to inherit the lead, but Jody Banfield is pulling in right beside him. We'll see whether these guys can get woed down. No, Jake Houndshell does not get woed down, and he spins out in front of Banfield.
Didn't hit anything. So the 0-2 is able to keep going, but still lots of lost time for a number of drivers. This might come down to who can get in and out the cleanest and the quickest.
And that's definitely going to be a penalty for him as well. Lots of these drivers having trouble on pit road making the entry, not getting those, not understanding how awful the tires are after these long runs. And just to make matters worse, Jake Houndshell's missed his pit box.
Oh, goodness, this is dire now at this point for the 0-2.
Jason Houndshell has inherited the lead at the moment. He is one of 2 drivers who have not pit so far. Anthony Job is the other guy behind him. And these 2 drivers sticking it out, hoping for a caution, but so far it has not come their way.
Well, it's a good thing that this doesn't play like Indianapolis in real life, where they throw a caution for a car spun in pit lane. We would have certainly been waiting a while. Banfield now up to 3rd, and he has taken his stop. Remember, Banfield was the one that started way in the back because he had technical issues and had to start from pit lane, was in danger of going a lap down. And actually, I stand
corrected, Danny. He has pitted, but he's on the 30s. He's going to be entering his 32nd lap on tires, so it counted his starting in the box as a pit stop.
Yeah, exactly. As soon as you said that, I realized what we forgot on that. One of the quirks of the timing and scoring. That means that J.R. Smith should be our leader when all is said and done. He's barely ahead of Brennan Chatley. Those two, couple of the earliest pitters, 8-lap old tires and 6-lap old tires between them.
And Brennan Chatley, J.R. Smith, if he inherits the lead, that will be 24 positions up from his starting position. This man is on a charge. And William Hartman, the first driver really to come out of a pit lane from that first lead group, he's down in 5th position now. And he's within reach of the lead, but J.R. Smith made the right move along with Brendan Chatley to come in early, and these guys really flying on those new tires.
Well, Banfield was holding out for a hero, but none came because he had to eventually pit. And Houndshell is in. Jason Houndshell. Now it is down to Anthony Job.
Anthony's got about 15 seconds. He doesn't have to come in this lap. He's got probably 3 or 4 laps before he gets caught, but at this point, I don't know how much good it's going to do him to stay out, even if they do get a caution, because he's just going to wind up at the end of the lead lap anyway.
So that means that regardless of whether he comes in or not soon, J.R. Smith, we're pretty certain, is our leader. And actually, Job does come in. So Smith is... Now, who is that? Is that... Well, that's Banfield, actually, to his inside, trying to keep from going a lap down. In fact, this might be 2 laps down that he's trying to keep from having this happen.
Yeah, and it looks like J.R. Smith is really trying to... Banfield... Wow, oh my goodness! And J.R. Smith gets into Banfield. Banfield saves it. J.R. Smith also saves it, but that allows William Hartman to go to the lead.
Just as our first caution happens, Banfield continues on. I wonder if this means...
I think they're going to resume their positions.
Well, I think it considered him ahead of Hartman when the checkered flag flew, which is just a split second. Talk about luck.
And I believe the caution flew with J.R. Smith ahead of Hartman as well. Take a look on board. Take a look on board with Hartman. He watches this whole thing happen, and he's just trying to figure out where to go. Left, right, decides on left and makes a good decision. And if that would have gone green, he would have been fine. But the caution came out, and those two drivers were considered in control of their trucks. And that's going to put J.R. Smith and Brendan Chatley ahead of William Hartman going into this next restart.
What a bizarre development. Now, is Banfield... Yes, he is truly back on the lead lap with that development. The drivers that are not happy about this are Jake Hounshell, who's a lap down, Nick Hunter, 3 laps down, and Brandon Miranda, also 3 laps down.
Nick Hunter and Brandon Miranda, 2 drivers we saw having trouble getting onto pit road. That's how much it cost them. They weren't able to recover the time. Let's see whether we have any takers on pit road this time. I think we might see just about everybody come in.
And I think you're right, because it looks like all drivers have lined up in a row and are sending it down pit lane. I do not see... Oh, no, there's a couple staying out. Those might be lapped cars. Yes, Miranda is one of them.
Jason Hounshell is not. Jason Hounshell has decided to stay out.
All right, so drivers trying to get back on the lead lap. We are in the second half of the race, but the race off pit road is going to belong to J.R. Smith. Now, wait a minute. How did Colton Lane, he had a full pit stop. The number 60s gets out of pit lane in second. And where is Hartman? Hartman in 11th overall.
Hartman on pit road for about 4 more seconds than Colton Lane, so he might have missed his box pulling in.
That's what I would suspect.
And you know how I was saying that Anthony Jobe, it didn't make sense for him to stay out much longer? Color me completely incorrect, because Anthony Jobe is now going to line up second on this restart with only 2 laps on his tires.
Oh, wow. So luck certainly played into the hands of Jobe, but only after the fact. Who would have expected that? I believe we've got time for a little bit of a break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. So while we let the rest of the cars take stops and let them get lined back up, we'll come back after a moment here at Michigan International Speedway.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Global
The stakes have never been higher. The competition has never been stronger. 42 drivers, 25 rounds. One will be crowned champion. Competition, commitment, excitement. This is Lionheart. Tune in Wednesday nights on the iRacing Esports Network to watch the cars and stars of Lionheart, the Lionheart IndyCar Series presented by First Medical Equipment. Welcome back to Michigan International Speedway, where we watch the Duel Invitational between the Precision Racing League and the Sim Racers for Mental Health. Jason Hounshell has now taken the lead after a strangely timed caution. Anthony Job as well in second. Despite waiting a long time on his tires, J.R. Smith will restart third just as the base car now peels off into pit lane. Hounshell and Job with slightly older tires, but not by much. Will they hold out for them? Green flag waves. And as they slowly work up the speed on this incredibly fast D-shaped 2-mile oval, already we're seeing drivers jockey for position. J.R. Smith manages to get into second place as Job starts to fall backwards. What about Hounshell? Is that 1 or 2 laps enough to cause problems and lose him the lead? Looks like the 33 is thinking about it. A little bit of 3 wide behind him, down for 5th place. Lane in the middle of Fody and Job.
These drivers are going nuts behind him. William Hartman stuck behind. We're going to go 3 wide for the lead right now between Brendan Chatley, J.R. Smith, and Jason Hounshell.
Chatley's going to use the speed to get up to the front between both of them and leave Smith and Hounshell to duke it out between the two of them. How about that for Brendan Chatley getting it up to the front?
Chatley's been very consistent, but he hasn't had the strongest day. This was an impressive move from him. Looks like Jason Hounshell's going to go underneath J.R. Smith and try and take that second position away.
Watch the pack trying to chase the number 59. You can see that Smith desperately wants to get back in this game. He was up there before. The caution didn't take him out too badly, as a caution is out. Just as obnoxious as the race suit of Brendan Chatley.
Jake Hounshell ends up spinning on the front stretch.
So let's see what happened here. Taking a look at the replay. Did he have some help?
I think
he did.
Contact from Thomas. Hey. No, it's Bradley Hawley.
Yeah, Hawley just a little bit of a bump, and then from there he was a pinball.
Go back a little bit farther. Yeah, now we're going to take a look. There were 3 wide exiting, and Hawley was extremely slow on the track, and looks like they were about to go 4 wide, and Jake Hounshell just came up a little bit into Hawley and ends up getting clipped. Oh, Hawley got turned, almost turned around in 3 and 4.
Yeah, we completely missed that. So that's why he was slow and causing a checkup in the pack. Great job by the Texas driver to hold on to that. Coming back live. So what does that do to our order? Well, Chatley leads. Smith is in second. Lane third. Jason Hounshell, the other Hounshell, is in fourth, and Rob Haynes now up to P5. We haven't had a caution or pit stops too long ago. In fact, most of the field, we had what, about 3 laps of racing? Adam, is that enough?
Less than a lap. I don't see it beneficial to come in at this point. Some people might think about it, but at the for the leaders especially, I would not come in.
Haynes is going to come in. Very few of them are. Looks
It
like
looks
Anthony Job.
Looks about 7th on back has decided to come to pit road, but a bunch of guys are going to take this opportunity to grab track position. And with only, we're going to come into 11 laps to go, that might be the good decision right now, especially with so few laps on the tires. But those who felt like they used a bunch of tires right there on that restart, likely coming in.
Ooh, and Jake Van Wazer missed his stall, so that's going to hurt. In fact, he still hasn't found his stall. I think Rob Haynes, who should be first out, might be the best positioned. He's followed by a couple other fast drivers, though. William Hartman is well in there. Could he potentially? You see the poor Illinois driver, unfortunately, needing to get out, find a map, and then ask for directions to figure out where that pit stall is.
Yeah, it's especially difficult to make sure that you are within your pit box and are allowing your pit crew to work with these new pit crew animations. These guys don't like working outside the box. They don't like the opportunity of getting their feet run over down pit road, and understandably after what we saw at Indianapolis this past weekend. So these drivers having a hard time finding their box, having a hard time navigating onto pit lane today. Just a very unique scenario for sure.
I understand they have a iRacers pit crew union. They can only take so many steps per day, so can't be too far outside that box as you see the field now cycle around. So where is our highest pitter from that group? Looks like Haynes is 15th. That's a lot of cars, especially considering the other cars have about 7 laps on the tires, 7 more laps on their tires.
Yeah, Rob Haynes has a ton of work to do. It's going to be a difficult proposition for him to get back up to somewhere resembling the lead pack. I mean, with the chaos that's going on, I mean, he's going to have the tire advantage, but with such a gaggle ahead of him, it's going to be a challenge for him to make any sort of move. So he's going to be after taking it 3 wide and have to be super aggressive on this restart if he wants to make his way forward in the field.
Just because maybe I guess I'm lazy, I'm going to argue that this falls under all trucks are cars, but not all cars are trucks, just to excuse myself from my multiple mistakes today. We'll see if the audience buys that or not, though. Anyways, Brennan Chatley still up at the front. Smith following, Lane in third. Colton is the one who has impressed me because he seemed to be doing nothing but falling backwards, but he certainly figured out the strategy here today and has put himself in a very good position with few laps to go.
Definitely. After burning off that right front on that first run, he really has impressed with his pit strategy and his decision-making skills just to get himself into that 3rd position. He's lining up behind the leader, Brendan Chatley, and so if he can get a good jump, he has a really good opportunity of maintaining and taking that 2nd position away from J.R. Smith.
I believe lights should go out this time by as we get another angle of this flashy race suit of Brennan Chatley. You certainly can't miss it as he tries to get the main sponsor for the PRL Truck Series as much attention as possible.
Seems to be working.
Indeed. Certainly, as we were getting ready for the broadcast, that one caught our eye.
So J.R. Smith up 23 positions from his starting position, the biggest mover in the race for sure. Austin Hunter is another one who's moved a lot, 16 positions up. He's in the 7th position starting back there. And there are a lot of drivers up here who have really moved around quite a bit. The field is more or less flip-flopped from the beginning of the race. And so it's going to be really interesting to see who can end up in winning this thing, because I'm pretty sure we are not done with the chaos yet.
And here's what's really cool. In this whole race, there's been no spare car, and we've not had a single DNF. Charles Sumner was not able to start the race, but everybody who did take to the grid has managed to stay out there and is still running. So credit to everyone in both leagues, proving, I think, pretty well the ability and the good racing that they provide, both in the Precision Racing League and the Sim Racers for Mental Health. So big pat on the back for everyone involved with their display of talent today. There are RN3 and 4. And as the Mustang pace car heads down into pit lane. Chatley gets on the loud pedal. Green flag is out. Hopefully, the last restart of the race. Can we get to the finish from here? Big jump for the number 59.
Chatley with a huge jump, and J.R. Smith a good jump as well. Colton Lane's going to be able to slide into third position, but he actually has to stay high. And there's a huge knot of cars down in front of Rob Haynes, our first pitter. He's battling for 12th now as the leaders continue to battle. Look at Rob Haynes going underneath now. Danny Banfield really struggling on that restart, spinning his tires. Rob Haynes clear track ahead of him now as he pulls forward, and he gets hit a little bit by Banfield.
Certainly washed up into him. Couldn't do much about that, and I think that may have cost him a little bit of precious speed. 9 laps to go, 8 laps to go now. Oof, and they are getting dicey up at the front. Jody Banfield moved up in front of Fody. They bang wheels as well. Coming off of turn 2, the number 7 on the low side. He knows there's very few laps left to go. He knows what's at stake.
These drivers know that this is their opportunity this time when they have fresh tires. This is when you can bang doors. This is when you can push people around a little bit and everyone can still save it. So these drivers really putting out their elbows right now.
One driver that's a little bit clear from some elbowing is Brennan Chatley, but he's losing his lead now that J.R. Smith has caught the draft. He and Colton Lane are looking to retake that lead.
We had that shot right there of Jody Banfield really knocking doors with Tyler Fody. He did not appreciate what happened to him on the exit of 2. Take a look at Brendan Chatley and J.R. Smith as they are coming through 3 and 4 now. J.R. Smith looks like he might have an opportunity to pass Chatley right now.
Challenging for the lead with 6 laps to go at the line. J.R. Smith versus Brendan Chatley with a dose of Colton Lane behind them, sizing them up from the popcorn position, seeing if maybe he could have an opportunity to steal a win from both drivers off of turn 2. Even though he's got a nose ahead, he does not have the speed compared to the number 59, so Smith starts to lose out.
But Colton Lane pushing him along, that's going to help him through the corner here. We'll see whether or not he can hold it off of 3 and 4. He has not had the opportunity to pull the slide jump, but he's able to get it done this time. He pulls up ahead of Brendan Chatley. It looks like he's going to stay on the high side down the front stretch, allowing Colton Lane to get underneath.
Just going to say Chatley's boxed in. He thought about going 3 wide, but didn't really want to risk it, squeezing through Lane and Smith. Lane nearly washing up into the 33. We got a caution.
And it involves Thomas Sink and Anthony Dobe, and they're still going.
Cars involved in this. Did it start with Sink?
Sink got spun by by the 48, I believe.
So Millet spins, and Danny Banfield finds himself speared into the outside wall. Sink takes to the low side and gets hit from behind. I believe that was Anthony Job who got into him.
It looks like Melee and Sink were battling down the front stretch, and Sink didn't appreciate how Melee was battling him, and it looked like Sink just went down low. So we're on board with Banfield now. We're going to take a look and see what happens here.
Of all these drivers, I think the one I feel for most is Anthony in the number 91. Because the trial of Job just never seems to end. His engine is smoking after that. His day is done.
It's possible we might be done with this race. I believe the caution came out on lap 50 while they were taking lap 51. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not we get any more green flag here this race.
So if that does end it, J.R. Smith leads Colton Lane. And then Brendan Chatley gets shuffled back to 3rd.
Jody Banfield, after that battle with Tyler Fody in the last session, that was really, really interesting seeing those two the same league really duking it out and getting into each other's doors there. We had a lot of grumpy drivers there on that restart, and it's no surprise with it being this late.
Okay, so 3 laps to go. We need to go double file next time by, I'm pretty certain. Ooh, and what happened to J.R. Smith? He's not showing out on the track. I'm not seeing a disconnect message yet. Here's hoping that he doesn't lose it through internet connection with a caution finish and the win literally sitting in his hands. He still hasn't reappeared. This is not good for the number 33. Incident limit, perhaps?
That would be really unfortunate, especially happening under caution. Nope, J.R. Smith
There he is.
is rejoined.
Sort of. He's trying to rejoin, but his internet connection is absolutely going bonkers. It has to hold on for 2 more laps, but can it? Okay, I think he's solidified now.
Not quite.
No. I never have I felt this much tension on a caution finish. This is absolutely bizarre. And I'm pretty certain, yes, we are going to have a caution finish because... Oh, wait, did the lights turn off? Nope, the lights are on. Lights are on.
So the field will finish this way. It just comes down to whether or not J.R. Smith's internet connection will hold on to see whether he takes the win here.
Well, I'm sure he's got tinfoil wrapped around antennas and coat hangers twisted around televisions just to try and see if he could extend the signal, get this thing to squeak to the finish. He hasn't disappeared for a while. And they still haven't got the white flag, mind you, so he still has to go around another time after this one.
Remember we were talking about Rob Haynes and his pit stop that he took the last time around. He is down in 12th position.
Mm-hmm.
That pit stop did not end up working out for him, and so he will now come home outside of the top 10 when he was up there in around the 5th or 6th position.
Yeah, I was watching him during that last green flag run, and sadly he was not making passes as quickly as he would have wanted. So it seems like that tire wear wasn't what he hoped, but he took a gamble. And sometimes you got to roll the dice if you want to get a win. It just did not pan out in his favor, as long as everybody in front of him doesn't wreck out on this final caution lap. But I don't think chances are good on that one. So we come across the start-finish line to get the white and yellow flags. This one race invitational, we believe, is going to see J.R. Smith take the win. He still hasn't disappeared lately. Interestingly, William Hartman has disconnected, though.
I believe Hartman was involved in that last wreck. Yes, he was down in the pits under a minute and a half or more of repairs back when he disconnected, so I believe he was involved in the last caution right before this run right here. You know, Joe, I wanted to say that I think these two leagues racing together has really been a success. It created an exciting race for sure, a nice full field, and everyone was racing extremely respectfully, except for the last 5-10 laps, which, you know, is very understandable, especially for a one-off event.
Yeah, and with no real championship on the line, of course. Drivers aren't worried about points, so that ups the aggressiveness. But I agree with you. This is something of a damp squib for what was an incredibly thrilling race for the vast majority of it. Fascinating to watch with tons of green flag racing, and then unfortunately everybody just got a little too antsy, it seems. But J.R. Smith probably isn't too disappointed with how this all came out, because though the timing was in his favor, he had to put himself into that position to allow this opportunity to be there to grab. So the number 33 comes to the line For the Duel Invitational, it is going to be J.R. Smith taking the win. Colton Lane will finish in second. The podium finished out by Brendan Chatley. Cars duck off to have a little fun now that the checkered flag has waved. So with that, we're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. But stick around, because on screen you'll see all the upcoming races here on GSRC. Welcome back to Michigan International Speedway. We just watched the Duel Invitational between the Precision Racing League and the Sim Racers for Mental Health. Two series we cover here on the Global Sim Racing Channel, trying to discover who among them really has the better drivers. I think in the end, you can't deny that the winner really does decide everything. J.R. Smith is the one that decides today and takes the victory. Colton Lane tried to chase him home, and it was close towards the end, but a caution wound up going in favor of the 33. Brendan Chatley, who led for a while, does take a third place, and Jason Hounshell a fourth. Jody Banfield manages fifth position, followed by Austin Hunter in sixth, and Tyler Fody, who I definitely wouldn't have expected to be up this high. Both he and Hunter started way in the back of the field. Fody finishes seventh. Robert Besaw Jr. takes eighth, and then Bradley Hawley, despite his speed typically in the PRL, winds up with ninth. Daniel Zegers takes a top 10.
Jay McGuire coming home in the 11th position, 11 spots up from his starting position as well. Rob Haynes in 12th position. And we have Danny Banfield, after his troubles, comes home only in 13th position. Thomas Sink as well, after his troubles, comes home in 14th position after getting involved in that final wreck. Adam Zemke comes home in 15th position, with Mike Richter in 16th, Connor Creighton in 17th, Jake Hounshell, after his troubles early on in the race, in 18th position, Robert Malikian in 19th, and Jake Van Wazer in 20th.
21st goes to Eric Roberts, with Joseph Millet unfortunately winding up a lap down, being a part of that last caution, finishing 22nd. Nicholas Hunter, 23rd, with Brandon Miranda, 24th, and William Hartman, 25th. Anthony Job, 26th, and Sumner did not start today. We do have our winner ready to talk to us. Even though he started up at the top, finished up at the top, he started way in the back. JR, considering you did not set a qualifying lap, I have to ask, was that by design? Did you want to start in the very back?
Yeah, the last race I won in PRL, I started in the back, so I started again today, see what would happen. I knew this track would get really loose with the car, so thought it'd be a little bit fun, and there was no points to grab tonight, so yeah, it was by design.
It certainly seemed like you had some fun out there. Now, as the race progressed and it seemed there was a lack of cautions, what's going through your mind? Do you start trying to figure out kind of how you want pit strategy to work out? Are you thinking that a caution has got to come at some point?
Yeah, typically the little group I hang out with, we have a pit idea what we're going to do before the race starts, and if it goes green at that point, fine. If it doesn't, then we'll just adjust to that. Once it goes, the longer it goes green, typically it's going to get more spread out. The risk of a caution goes down, and I feel pretty good on long runs. Normally, I'm pretty quick on long runs. I save my tires pretty well, so today it paid off.
What do you think having now run against these sim racers for mental health guys? Was it a good experience? Would you like them to come join you guys at the PRL series?
For sure, I love having a lot of cars, and sometimes PRL we struggle getting some cars, but tonight having the combined series, almost 30 cars, it looks like. Um, the more the merrier.
I concur. It certainly gives us a lot more action, makes it exciting up in here in the booth. JR, congratulations in a one-off competition where winning was all that mattered. You managed to take the victory. Great job, sir.
Thanks, guys.
That was J.R. Smith, winner today, coming from 25th on the grid, trying to have some fun. I'd say he earned it. Adam, however, is talking to the driver who finished second behind him from 11th place on the grid, Colton Lane.
Yeah, Colton coming home in second position. That was a really good result for you, especially seeing how the car was in that first green flag run. How did you make up those positions in the end?
Honestly, on that first run, I'm not very fast on the new tires, it would seem, but after about 15 laps when they kind of started to go away, I guess I had saved some, or maybe I could handle it better, and I started to come back through the field. But man, coming back through not lap traffic, but the traffic is a pain because the bottom lane, you can't really get the run off like you need.
Definitely. And so once the cautions started flying, what was your strategy to try and claw your way back forward?
Well, the first one came out after everybody mostly had cycled through, so I wasn't worried about that. But on the one right after that one, I just stayed out because we didn't have many laps on the tires. I figured it would be a negligible difference between the new and the old tires.
Yeah, and what do you think about having the drivers for mental health racing alongside you guys? Did you enjoy that tonight? Would you like to see them in PRL?
Absolutely. We're down to have more competition, more people joining up with us. I raced with them last week when they raced Kansas and had a blast. So I'm looking to catch more races with them. Hopefully, a few of them will sign up for our league. Maybe we can, do a lot more races together, either like as a group like this, or maybe one day we'll end up being, one and the same or something like that. You never know what's going to happen.
Well, great result today, Colton Lane, on this one-off event, and I'm glad you came out today.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
And that was Colton Lane coming home in second position. And it looks like, Joe, you've caught up with our third-place driver, Brendan Chatley.
Yep, Brennan managing to get onto the podium, having started in fifth place. Before we get to the meat of your race, though, I have to ask, who designed your race suits?
They're custom designed by me. I just figured I'd plaster my family's business all over my race suit.
I think you have caught our attention. We enjoyed taking a look at that. We're even getting a look at it right now. Let's get to the race, though. And you started in fifth, as I said, but it looked like early on in the race, you kind of just let things go. You dropped back a couple positions, and then it seemed like things came to you. Was that, did you mean to drop back at the start and figured everything would kind of come your way eventually, or did you struggle in the beginning?
I was just content riding behind Rob Haynes there and keeping pace with the likes of William and Thomas and Bradley up there. And then was able to kind of short pit it a little bit and then got out in front of pretty much everybody. JR was catching me, but definitely gained a lot of spots there.
When we had those late cautions and suddenly you find yourself in the lead, knowing that there had been a few laps on the tires, what motivated you to stay out? Do you feel confident that the tires weren't worth enough that drivers could come and chase you down?
I was asking my teammates. We have a chat there for a bunch of us, and the top few said they were going to stay out, so I decided to stay out with them. We only had about 2 laps on our tires, so I figured it wouldn't be that big of a drop.
It's unfortunate you weren't able to retain the lead with that, but still you kept the podium place. Will we see you again next season when we come back to the PRL?
Yep, Wednesdays and Sundays.
Fantastic. Looking forward to that, seeing you compete on the oval side. Congratulations on the top 3.
Thank you.
Brendan Chatley going from 5th to 3rd. But that's going to close us up tonight. And of course, we want to thank both the Precision Racing League and the Sim Racers for Mental Health for coming together for this great event. I enjoyed the hell out of this, and I hope we get to do more like these special events. Also, thanks to the companies that provided the software and hardware for our broadcast. You can see listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Adam, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Head on over to our YouTube page when you get the opportunity. There's a big red button that says subscribe. If you aren't already subscribed, hit that so that you don't miss a moment here on the GSRC. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, see you on the track.